Vulnerability is a superpower. I used to look at vulnerability like it was a weakness, and instead when I started to embrace vulnerability as a strength and knowing that by me being vulnerable is going to get me where I want to be, I started to see real changes. I think vulnerability, when we think about it, we see it as a female emotion and as being emotional, but just because you're vulnerable doesn't mean that you are crying, boo-hooing, being this less than version of yourself. And I'm not saying that when you cry you're less version of yourself, because emotions are emotions. But vulnerability doesn't equate to crying and being sad, weak, and pathetic. Vulnerability is actually one of the bravest things that you can do. And you don't see any successful people that have thrived without them being vulnerable. Vulnerability and success come hand in hand. Vulnerability and love come hand in hand. Vulnerability and having the life that you really want are they work together. All the successful people, all the people that you see in the most loving relationships had to allow themselves to be vulnerable. Because let's face it, in order to be successful, you have to be able to put yourself out there and take a risk and take a chance on yourself. And the same thing when it comes to love. In order to find the love of your life, in order to embrace love, you have to allow yourself to show love, to be loved. And that takes a certain level of vulnerability. And we can say this for anything, not only just success in careers or in relationships, romantic relationships, but also in friendships and family relationships and just creating the life that you really want. I used to be really emotionally unavailable because I feared that if I'm available to people emotionally, what does that say about me? Does that make me weak? What if people leave me? What if people judge me? What if people don't embrace who I am? What if I am left with nothing? You know, and that comes from a fear and abandonment wound. That is not the actual reality. And once I healed those abandonment wounds, I really started to shift how I felt about vulnerability and started to reframe. And I talk about reframing all the time, and I do have episodes on healing those anxious attachment styles and those abandonment wounds. But once I started to do it and I started to think, what is the worst thing that could happen? Because how brave of me to put myself out there not knowing how someone will feel. How brave of me to express my emotions not knowing the outcome. How brave of me to take a risk in the pursuit of my desires, in the pursuit of my ultimate happiness. Because beyond the fear of people leaving, beyond the fear of not getting what you want, beyond the fear of not knowing how someone will respond to you or feeling neglected and abandoned, is the truth of the matter. And the truth of the matter is, if those people leave, they weren't supposed to be in your life to begin with. If people judge you, then let them. Because at the end of the day, your happiness is what's important. If people don't want to be in your life because you choose to be vulnerable, because you choose to step out of your comfort zone to pursue what it is that your heart truly desires, then that was not meant to be to begin with. If you feel called to say something, be something, do something, there is no losing. There's only alignment. There's only elevation. The right people, the right circumstances, the right opportunities will always align. And when you choose to be who you truly are, to live in your authenticity, to be vulnerable, you are able to be a match for the things that truly align with your higher self, what your future self really desires. There is no losing when you follow your gut feeling. There is no losing when you take inspired action. There's only alignment. And truth be told, I think about that a lot when it comes to this podcast, when it comes to my YouTube channel. What if it's not a success? What if me putting myself out there in this way does not equate to the outcome that I truly want? And that is a hard reality that you have to face when it comes to doing anything, when it comes to pursuing someone that you really want, when it comes to pursuing a career that you really want, is the aspect of this may not work. And what will I do if it doesn't work? There's this video of Oprah that I think about all the time when it comes to pursuing my dreams. In this video, the interviewer asked her, what will you do if this show is not successful? And she says, if this show is not successful, I will still be successful because I'm not defined by this one show. I have people that I love. I have other things that I enjoy doing. And so if this show is not successful, I will move on basically and do those other things. And regardless, I will be successful. And I just felt like this video is so profound because it really highlights the fact that if it's not this, it's something better. And she knew within her that yes, the show will be successful, but this interviewer and putting the worst case scenario out there, she's like, I will still be successful. Nothing is going to stop me from reaching what I want and what I desire. The ultimate truth is when you know who you are, when you know your values, when you know what you want out of life, you will always find a way. The universe will always find a way. And when you know your worth, you no longer allow fears or judgment to control you. That doesn't mean that you don't still have them. That doesn't mean that you don't have fearful thoughts, but you continue forward. You press forward in spite of them. I talk a lot on the channel about closing the gap between who you are now and who your future self is. And I feel like a lot of the closing of that gap is allowing yourself to be vulnerable and embracing vulnerability, embracing stepping outside of that comfort zone. And at least for me, when it came to even starting this channel, when it came to starting real estate, when it came to believing what was possible for me, what was actually possible, not what my fears were telling me, not what my negative subconscious was telling me at the time, but believing what was truly possible for me and knowing a great life was possible for me was allowing me to connect the dots in that way. And the major disconnect for me was embracing vulnerability and allowing myself to be seen, because future you has everything that she wants. And in order for future you to get to that place, she embraced vulnerability. She embraced being wrong. She embraced people judging her. She embraced being misunderstood. She embraced failure. She embraced the idea that something may not work, but persisting and pursuing it anyway. And the sooner you understand that vulnerability is necessary, the quicker the things that you really desire can come forth, because you are no longer being ruled and controlled by being afraid to be seen, by being afraid to be wrong, by being afraid to be misunderstood. You allow yourself to shine as bright as you want. You say, oh, well, what's next when things don't work out? And you continue to press forward and take inspired actions and stay aligned with the things that you truly want and allowing those things to come in. And I don't know about you, but I would rather be vulnerable and get the life I deserve and work towards the life I deserve than sit on the sidelines and think and look back when I'm 85, 95, or in heaven and think, what if I would have tried that out? What if I would have done that said thing? Because at the end of the day, you can live your life the way that you choose. And I choose to embrace vulnerability in order to have the life that I truly want in pursuit of my ultimate happiness. And when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you see that life is so beautiful. There's so many beautiful things on the other side of embracing that discomfort and opening yourself up to the possibilities. With that being said, I hope that this episode was helpful for you. I hope that there was a little nugget of an aha for you, because that really is my goal with this channel, is to provide aha moments for others based on what I have learned in my inner work journey. And so if this episode was helpful for you and you're on my YouTube channel, I would love a subscribe, a comment would be great, or a like would be awesome as well. And if you're watching this or listening to this on my podcast channel, thank you for listening. And I would love, again, a download, a subscribe, a follow, a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, whatever applies to whatever platform you're listening to this on, whether it's Apple or Spotify. And with that being said, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.